Hi there. Okay, in this video, we're going to take a look at a technique I like to call letting the market come to you. For a little context, sometimes you might already have a certain trade thesis in mind. So you set about the process of gathering evidence to support entering a trade in the very near term. You look at your various indicators and studies, and you try to raise your confidence in taking a trade. What we're about to take a look at now is for times when you're ready to exercise a little patience to wait for the right setup. Um, and what I'm going to show you is this is actually one of my favorite ways to use WaveBasis to find trade entries. And it really showcases the power of Elliott wave analysis as the starting basis for trading decision support. And what we're going to walk through now will show you how you can use WaveBasis to unlock that power. So I should also mention that as with most of the examples that we use in our videos, if not all of them, the examples I'm going to show you now come from actual trades that we've done, or they're counts that we're currently tracking. It turns out it's just easier to borrow from real life trading than it is to invent artificial scenarios. So with that, let's first take a look at Apple. Now, if you've been watching Apple, you probably know that it's been in a bit of a pullback since the middle of October. When we started tracking Apple a few weeks ago, back in September, so back around in here is where we started tracking. And let's see, let's get back around in here. So what I'm trying to do is get the count set. So the end of the count is back in September, about when we started noticing this. And I'll set my date range to include this turning point here. So about there should do it. So we run the count. And what we see here is that we appear to be moving up in an impulsive structure here in the red lines. We have the 1, 2, 3, 4, and wave 4 with our minimum target projection for the end of wave 5 up there in the green box, as you can see. This started suggesting to me, well, this is interesting. If we were coming off a major turning point here in May, about to complete 5 up on a 1 hour chart, that suggests that maybe we're topping out in a wave 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the first one, and following wave 1 is a drop back to wave 2 support. So this got my interest. So we continued to track this count, and as you can see, the back at this point, the target was in the green box area there, the 117 roughly to 120 area. And you can see we already at this point have 4 waves of 5 of this last wave 5 up. So this was tending at that time to suggest we're getting up into a topping region here. Sometime during this period, I should mention, I don't remember exactly when. There's a little bit of clutter there. Let's see if we can trim that down a little bit. Earnings came out, and I think that's actually what triggered the drop. So let's move forward a little bit more. I think that day maybe that was earnings. I'm not sure. No, that gap down was earnings. So let's run the count again. Of course, we're continuing to track this count all the way through this move. And you see we're continuing up. The count has evolved a bit. Now we're getting closer to topping out. And as we expected, we start to get a pullback here as we were expecting in the region of 117 to 120. Topped out just where our green box and our channels and our fibs were telling us there would be most likely a topping formation. So we continue to move the count forward. We can run the count again. And we see now wave 5 is confirmed. And this is the wave 1 up as I was expecting. And now at this point we have a support for a wave 2 drop. So let's zoom out a little bit. And you can see that's where we are now. This is around where we were closing on Friday. So according to this count, we are sitting on wave 2 support, a wave 2 support that we started anticipating, over a month ago, more than a month ago. So all this time we've been waiting for a drop to support. Now we'll want to look a little bit more closely at the structure of this drop to make sure we have all the waves in place that we would require for a corrective move. But this is starting to look like a great buying opportunity. We haven't pulled the trigger quite yet, but we're on the lookout for it, and I suspect that we will very soon. So let's take another quick example, and we'll talk a little bit more about both of these. Let's look at GWPH. This is a pharmaceutical company. Look at the 2-hour. Okay, and again, if we zoom out a bit here, just so you can get a better sense of what started our interest in this. We have this is a relatively new stock. We have a long rally here, followed by a pretty major correction, and the start of what looks like to be a new rally. So we can consider this a significant turning point. So we want to analyze our count. Run a count and analyze the market from that turning point, just to get a better sense of where we are, what the market context is from an LA wave perspective. And again, this is another one we started watching. This hasn't been quite as long, just about a month. So back around this time here, as you can see, I've ended the chart around the middle of October. So we run the count, and it looks like we're starting up in an impulse. We have at our higher degrees here, and you can get this also from the next subwaves area. And at the end of the count, it appears that we're about to drop back drop down into a wave 4, and we have a minimum target here of 122.05, as you can see, of this impulse. So here's another example. We're looking like we're topping and about to drop back to support. These are, to my way of thinking, great setups when you can anticipate a downturn to support in a larger upward move and a larger upward trend. This is a great time to potentially enter a trade. So if we continue to move forward, we can see that let's move in a little bit more. You can see that we exceeded the minimum target for the wave 4 drop. But if we look at the Fibonacci levels here, let's lock these on. You can see that the drop stopped right at the 618 retracement level. So again, this was anticipated. We expected a drop to occur from around this point. It dropped to one of the more common. This would be considered a fairly deep wave 4, but it looks like it respected the 618 Fibonacci level, which is something that you can get confidence from in a trade if you do pay attention to the Fibonacci levels. So again, this is a trade that we did already do, and so far, so good. So just to be more clear what we're expecting here is we can project these waves forward. Let's drop this down to where it actually took place, and we'll talk more about ratios in another video, but you can see that I can place my wave 5 a little bit higher to conform with standard expectations for wave 5s. You can see lighting up green there. So where the 5 roughly equals wave 1 there. So we can expect, looks like about a 36% move to happen here on a minimum expectation basis, and to continue the larger upward trend with much higher targets. So again, this is maybe a little different than the way a lot of folks like to trade, and that is, you start looking for a trade, or you think, something's going to go up or down, then you start looking for evidence. This is, you can see in both examples here, it really illustrates the power of Elliott wave analysis. We started by identifying a pattern that appeared to be playing out in the market, and that pattern initially allowed us to establish some expectations about what the market was likely going to do next. Then by exercising some patience, we allowed the market to confirm our expectations without ever risking a penny. So in both of these cases, the market followed precisely the pattern that we expected it to follow. We expected topping out, followed by a drop back to support. And it did this actually over a period of weeks. And by tracking the pattern in this way, we're able to increase confidence in a wave count, leading up to what can potentially be a high confidence, low risk trading opportunity. So markets, tend to provide these setups far more often than you'd probably expect. If you're willing to exercise a little patience, and you have the right tools, you can be prepared to take advantage of these opportunities. So I hope that gives you a good sense of how to use WaveBasis to do that. And thanks for watching, and happy trading.